Good afternoon, I'm Gene Law, and this is your Evolution News to 12 o'clock. A military jury is hearing a statement of facts about what Canadian-born Omar Khadr did in Afghanistan in 2002. The statement agreed to by Khadr says he wanted to kill as many Americans as he could before he died. Colin Perkle of the Canadian Press says Khadr signed off on everything in the statement after years of saying he's innocent. Under a plea deal, Khadr will return to Canada after serving another year in Guantanamo Bay. BC Premier Gordon Campbell won't be punishing his new Energy Minister. Energy Minister Bill Bennett publicly criticized the Premier for the way he handled yesterday's cabinet shuffle. Bennett told Campbell he didn't like the cabinet changes, but will work to turn BC into an energy powerhouse. Campbell had this to say about his minister. The Premier's decision not to punish Bennett contrasts with opposition NDP leader Carol James's handling of inter-party criticism. James dumped MLA Bob Simpson from caucus when he refused to apologize for posting an online column criticizing James last month. And now Evolution reporter Chandler Grieve is down on South Granville Street, where the city has just unveiled a new state-of-the-art parking meter. So Chandler, what's so special about these meters? Now, do we have to worry about credit card fraud? So these meters are pretty high tech. How much more are these meters costing the city of Vancouver? So Chandler, can you still pay with coins, and what kind of credit cards are accepted? And just the fact that they're solar powered makes it sort of a new kind of green technology too, doesn't it? Yeah, it definitely does. Like a lot of things in Vancouver that are very environmentally friendly and solar powered meters, should be a pretty good thing for the city. Right, thanks a lot, Chandler. That was Evolution's reporter Chandler Grieve. Now, it's the second day of the federal inquiry into the collapse of the Fraser River sockeye stocks. Today, the inquiry will hear about the life cycle of salmon. The inquiry was called when only 1/10 of the expected salmon returned in 2009. BC Supreme Court Justice Bruce Cohen told more than a dozen lawyers who represent 21 groups that a solution can be found if everyone works together. Cohen will release an interim report on Friday, with the final report released next year. Kamloops RCMP Staff Sergeant Gary Kerr says he's surprised and relieved that a man wanted for a double murder near Kamloops has been arrested in Metro Vancouver. Vernon RCMP are warning parents about letting their children attend a rave party planned for this weekend in the North Okanagan. An RCMP spokesperson said there could be more than 600 people at this Halloween party. It's being held on private land outside of Vernon. The Mounties are worried about drugs and not enough supervision and medical facilities at the site. The Vernon RCMP say even though organizers may be trying to keep underage partiers away, teens are still likely to attend and there's a high potential for trouble. And what happens in council stays in council. Prince George City Councillor Brian Skucken is accused of revealing council secrets. He was charged for allegedly releasing confidential information after a council meeting in August 2008. He denies the charges and says he's looking forward to telling people what really happened. And a man who claims he was pressured to have sex with a Manitoba judge has dropped another lawsuit. Alexander Chapman has abandoned his claim against the law firm where Judge Laurie Douglas once worked. Chapman initially sued Douglas, her husband Jack King, and the firm where they used to work, Thompson Dorfman Sweatman. Chapman's lawyer Paul Walsh says there's now only one lawsuit left. Auditor General Sheila Fraser fired a salvo at the Defense Department today. She criticized the delayed and expensive purchase of military helicopters. Her analysis of the purchasing programs to buy helicopters for both maritime and Army operations was the highlight of her fall review. She was critical of the $11 billion purchase of CH-148 and CH-147 helicopters. The cost of these helicopters are almost double the initial projections. She accused the Defense Department of misleading the federal government with its plans and estimates. UBC Professor James Stewart is in The Hague this week to convince international crime experts to press war crime charges against irresponsible corporations. He says corporations should be charged if they profit from diamonds, gold, oil, land, or other resources during a war. He says these companies fund violent regimes when they buy plundered resources. He'll present his ideas at a conference attended by lawyers and war crime investigators. And Canada's top destination for foreign aid is also one of the most corrupt. Afghanistan has the second most corrupt government according to the annual survey of global corruption by Transparency International. Canada has earmarked $1.9 million in development assistance to Afghanistan through next year. Afghanistan is tied with Myanmar's military dictatorship for second place. Somalia takes a dubious prize as being the most corrupt. On the other hand, out of more than 170 countries surveyed, Canada is the sixth least corrupt. And UN human rights official calls for U.S. Iraqi probe of WikiLeaks reports. The UN's top human rights official wants the U.S. and Iraq to investigate allegations of detainee abuse. Navi Pillay, UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, says serious breaches of international human rights law have occurred in Iraq. These allegations come out of WikiLeaks' release of U.S. military documents. The online whistleblower released nearly 400,000 field reports by U.S. troops on Friday. Many of those reports contained reports of abuse by Iraqi forces, which the U.S. troops did not intervene to stop. Secretary of State Hillary Rodham Clinton is adding a stop in China to her 2-week tour of Asia. She'll meet with Chinese State Councilor Dai Bingguo, who oversees foreign policy for China. The U.S. State Department says they'll discuss economic issues before next month's G20 Economic Summit in South Korea. They'll talk about Chinese President Hu Jintao's visit to the U.S. early next year. This meeting comes as tensions rise between China and its Asian neighbors and China and the U.S. The U.S. wants China to change its currency policy, and the U.S. believes China's currency policy gives Chinese companies an unfair advantage. Saskatchewan is working the back rooms in Ottawa while it pushes for a public campaign to block Australian mining giant BHP Billington's bid to acquire Potash Corp. Premier Brad Wall says Ottawa should consider Australia's own rules for reviewing foreign investment. And now for something a little bit different. How many ways are there to eat a potato? Well, not that many apparently. A U.S. man who was on a 60-day all-potato diet is now only going 30 days with the spuds. Chris Voigt of Washington State says even though potatoes are healthy and tasty, there are only so many ways of preparing them. So far, he's had them boiled, baked, steamed, grilled, fried, marinated, and mashed. Voigt is the executive director of the Washington State Potato Commission, and he's on a mission to show potatoes aren't just for junk food. For a little potato variety, he soaked one potato in pickle juice, and his wife made him potato ice cream. And now for a look at the weather. There'll be showers today ending in the afternoon. Today's high will be 10 degrees. Tonight we'll have a 40% chance of showers and a low of 8. Tomorrow we'll have clouds and a 40% chance of showers in the morning, clearing late in the afternoon. Expect a high of 12 degrees. That's your news to 12 o'clock. I'm Gene Law, and you're listening to Evolution 1079.
Good job.